Hello, Rabbi.
Good evening, Joe.
And I see you bring with you today a special guest, Garry. Welcome, Garry.
Thank you.
Garry is the rabbi's cousin. And he came to us with some news that he received in the last month or so. And Garry, can you share that with us?
Yes, I was diagnosed a while back with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was pretty much dormant. So, it wasn't really moving anywhere and they couldn't treat it. And then right after Thanksgiving, I had a CT scan, which I go for every 3 months, and it had some alarming effects. It showed some things that weren't normal. And my oncologist called me right after that CT scan to schedule a PET scan. And I had an standing appointment to see him. And it was this past Monday, at which time he informed me that I was now at stage 4.
You went from a stage 1 that the
Yes.
lymphoma was stabilized. Then the doctor said, "Oh, you better come in for an appointment because you're now stage 4." What was did you go through the roof? Did your stomach drop? What did you feel?
No, to tell you the truth, it didn't surprise me in a way. I thought it was good and bad at the same time, because they couldn't treat the lymphoma before because it just wasn't active. And they told me the only way they can treat it is if it got active. Well, it got active. So they were able to treat it. So the good, the bad. Unfortunately, it was like a bullet train and just skipped over 2 and 3.
And I don't ever remember in your life you skipping. I remember you not even skipping grades. Some of your grades you actually repeated. I don't ever remember you jumping from a grade ahead. This was unusual.
Yeah, it took me by surprise too. But after, 7 years ago when I had the bladder cancer and they told me I had cancer, everybody said, "Oh, you don't see the C word anymore." And, it scares people. Well, it didn't really faze me. In a way, I sort of expected it. I've had some things I did to myself by smoking for so long. So that really didn't surprise me. And when I got this other cancer, it didn't surprise me either, because my father had it. And he
And it is
passed.
genetic. Lymphomas are genetic.
Yeah. And he passed from it about 20 years ago.
Has it been that long? He
Yeah.
died. It's been 20
Yeah.
years.
He basically was diagnosed with it. It must have been in a slightly advanced stage at the age of 66, and I'm 65. And I remember specifically because I had just, he passed away just when I started my business. And I'm going into my 20th year.
So the doctor right away scheduled some chemotherapy, four treatments, and last Friday was the 4th. So take us to the first treatment. How long did that one take?
Well, they told me to expect 6 hours, and I actually went through it within 4.5 hours. The reason for the length, as they explained, was that they wanted to just continually monitor me to see if there was any adverse effects from the chemo. And so they started the drips really slow. And as it went on, they started speeding it up. So 4.5 hours, they didn't see any signs. So they felt I was good to go.
So you're sitting there during the infusion. What was going through your mind?
What am I going to do for 4.5 hours? Actually, what am I going to do for 6 hours? I mean, I'm sitting in that chair and, in that little room, it's not really a room, just has the curtains on the side. And you're steering down a hallway pretty much where there are probably another 8 rooms there the same way, but you only see the numbers. And staring across to somebody opposite you, in a chair at the other end. There's not a whole lot to do.
But Garry, I don't think I'm surprising anybody by saying you seem to be taking this very well. Is there a secret to your attitude? I mean, I got diagnosed with melanoma and I bounced off the ceiling for a good half hour.
Well, I realized that there's really nothing I could do. It was out out of my hands. There was nothing I can wave and it'll go away. It is what it is. And getting excited and wearing myself out, worrying about it, achieve nothing. I think a lot of this I learned when I quit smoking after about 42 years. I was going through a hard time quitting, as anybody who has smoked for a long time and tried to quit cold turkey knows. And after a while, it's the same thing. You realize that the cigarettes were just a tool and they really accomplished nothing. So
did the diagnosis of COPD, having been diagnosed and living with it, do you think that helped with adjusting to this melanoma? I mean, to the lymphoma?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's, that again, that didn't surprise me, and there wasn't anybody but myself to blame for it. So, why sit around and pity myself, whatever? All I can figure out is, well, how can I treat it? How can I get through it? And, whatever they gave me as far as inhalers and said, come see me regularly. Okay, that's what I need to do. I will. Fortunately,
you followed the regimen of quarterly scans, of medication, whatever you were told, you followed.
Right. And I could tell if it was getting worse or not. I mean, the doctors, unfortunately, as probably anybody with cancer or any type of illness have found when they go to see doctors, the doctors have never had this themselves. All they can tell you is what they learned from other patients or learned from books or whatever. But they've never felt it. They've never experienced it. But they're telling you how to handle it.
Did you find that annoying? Did you find that the doctors not having experience in the hospital or with infusion, and here they are? Did that annoy, upset, anger?
It didn't anger me. It just, again, I had to accept the fact that that's the way it is. That when they told me certain things, instead of arguing with them, I'm like, well, you really don't know what it's like. If there's anything in the future where I can sort of touch your head and mind meld, then you can feel it. Then you'll know how I feel. And when I come in to see you, if for whatever reason I'm not feeling that way at that time, you don't see it, you don't understand it. When I leave your office and all of a sudden I start feeling that, you're not there to feel it with me or understand it either. So it did annoy me to a point where I understood where they were coming from. They're doctors. That's what their job is to do, is to learn about these things and say, okay, well, this is what the books tell me I have to do, and this is what the treatment is. But again, they can't feel it. They have no clue as to really what you're going through.
There is no secret per se. A lot of times we read books and it'll tell it, drink this product, eat this product, go do a marathon, go do something. And I keep hearing from you that you do have your own secret. It's accepting what is. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, exactly. You just accept it and deal with it and know what the inevitability could be and take it as it comes. Wake up every day and live your life the best you can at that day. And don't worry about tomorrow. Just worry about today.
Does your religion enter into any part of this? What percentage? Can you put a number on it? Is it?
I really don't know. I'm sure deep down it probably does have some basis in my mind or comfort or whatever, but I couldn't really tell you 5%, 20%, 90%. But it's a calming. Like I said, I know I have support there. I know as soon as I mentioned to my cousin, the rabbi, he's always been supportive, even if I had a head cold. So I figured this one, I'd have a little bit more support there, which I did. And I know he's dealt with people with this before too, and he's seen it. And the way I look at it is look at it with a sense of humor. If you can't laugh at it, you'll never get through it.
When we've been together, you've talked with me, you never blamed God or blamed anything. Now, privately, because I only know what with our conversations from the COP diagnosis, the bladder cancer diagnosis, now the stage 4 diagnosis. When I'm not around and things are quiet at the night, do you ever scream at God or blame God?
No, I don't. I don't feel that this was something that, came down from the powers to say, I'm going to make you sick and you're going to have to deal with it. And this is your, maybe it's penance for something you did or something. No, I don't feel that. I knew for many years, and I was a heavy smoker for a long time. And I was warned, as it's even said on the packages, what it could do. And I knew about it. I always had excuses, whatever. And to tell you the truth, I got the bladder cancer. I really expected them to tell me I had lung cancer. I was ready for that. But I didn't have lung cancer. I just had the blockages to my lungs. But I knew it was my fault. I know I did it to myself. And, there's no one to blame but myself. Nobody forced me to smoke. And with my father also having gone through it, as you said, it is hereditary. And if it meant that I had to have these diseases and my siblings didn't get it, then I'm more than happy to take it on my shoulders. I have the diabetes, and they said that that's hereditary. And my mother's brother had diabetes, and he was diagnosed in his 60s. I also have the kidney disease, which goes up, goes down. So it's like every day trying to figure out what's going to kill me. So it's just, flip a coin. What's today's thing going to be?
Well, I think it's going to be your driving is going to kill you. If the diseases haven't done it yet, I've been in the car with you enough times, Garry. So I think that's what's going to get you.
In fact, if I feel that happening, I'll come by and pick you up.
So the message from this broadcast is don't drive with Garry.
Yeah.
But I must say, just to turn it back around to something even resembling a serious note, that I have many friends who've received similar diagnoses or who expected at one point or another and received bad news and Catholics take comfort in the knowledge that if they led a good life, they go to heaven. And so when they hear news like this, the first thing to start doing is going to church every day. But Judaism is not like that. So you said that that your faith has some comfort for you in these situations. And I know other Jewish friends who've had similar situations and diagnosis, and they take it with the same fortitude and good attitude. And I was just wondering, Rabbi, can you identify any aspect of Judaism that?
Yes, I can. Judaism teaches to accept what is. And the book of Job is a part of our wisdom literature. It's an example that things happen. We have bodies. There's illness, there's disease, there's bad events, there's circumstances, and it's nothing to do with what Garry did at camp or in third grade. Because if it was what he did in third grade, he wouldn't have lived this long. So you don't have this punishment for, or you didn't do the right thing. The idea is you live life, and whatever happens, you live it, and don't let it control you. Don't let it make decisions for you, and don't let it restrict you. And I think that's a very important Jewish lesson, whether it's illness, whether it's losing a job, regardless of what it may be. The teachings in Judaism are, this is the situation. Now, how are you going to live your life without stopping, without letting it get in the way of doing things? And it's so much the way we're brought up that it's not so much identifiable, because Garry really wasn't going to identify. It's because it's what the Jewish teaching is.
And I'm not the only person that got cancer. I mean, lots of thousands and tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people get cancer or get some type of disease that might be terminal. I look, and I was talking with somebody today, and they had mentioned that they also had health problems. And they said, look, we're about the same age, but look how many people that are a lot younger than we are have passed away from something or another. And we've made it this far. I didn't even really expect to make it this far. So every day is above ground is a good one. It's easy for me to do just because, again, it's just like the rabbi said, acceptance. I've accepted it from the beginning, and I've kept saying it is what it is, and there's nothing I can do. If there were a miracle drug, well, maybe I'd try it, but I wouldn't expect a miracle to happen from it. If it works, it works. It's man-made. Maybe I was just born in the wrong century. Maybe a century later, they'll have a cure for it. As soon as you, like Star Trek, wave a wand over you, you're cured. But it doesn't happen that way.
I have to say a good attitude certainly goes a long way. And I have lots of doctors in the family who've proven two things to me, that it's true what your attitude is makes a big difference in your treatment. And also, since my brother is a doctor, I can say I know a lot of doctors who make mistakes all the time. But I have a friend who was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor and told she had 6 months to live at most. And that was 37 years ago, and she's still around. So there is hope always until there isn't anymore. Because as they say,
really don't want to know how long I have. I mean, I haven't asked the doctor, said, well, how long do I have? They tell me this, they tell me that, again, as I've said to them, I said, look, if I don't wake up tomorrow, I'll never know it. So, why worry about tomorrow? I'm here today.
There you go. And one of my favorite writers once wrote about living. How much time do you get? And the answer is the same as everybody else, a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I think that really does, I won't say annoy me, but sometimes bothers me, is others around that feel that I'm incapable of doing something because I'm this sick, that I can't pick up this box or something, or I can't move over there, and I can't do this and I can't do that. I'm like, I'm not an invalid. I can still do these things. I may not have the power I had before, but I can still do these things. It's like, no, you don't do this stuff. We'll handle it. We'll pick up that paper for you. Come on, I'm not dead.
Well, God bless Garry. I won't pick up your paper for you.
I appreciate
Thank you very much. And Rabbi, thank you for bringing your cousin on and this topic, which I'm sure is going to touch a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
And as something Garry mentioned, just before my mother died, I don't know the timing, and she said to me what Garry said slightly differently. She said, if nobody died and I was the only one in the universe, I'd be angry and pissed. But since death is what happens to human beings, and I'm very, very sick, I'm dying. And it's not that I've been singled out. And I think that's a very Jewish attitude as well.